Welcome back, everyone. We are here on ShiftED podcast, looking out for amazing locals that are doing amazing things in our area. And today, I have a really special guest, Steve Leckman, who's the director and instructor at the Coyote Program, or the Programme Coyote, if you want to Frenchify it. And Steve is here to kind of share the importance of outdoor ed, why we need to be aware of it, and why we got to get our kids out there more. And we'll also talk a little bit about the services that he offers to not only schools, but to everyone here in Quebec. So Steve, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for inviting me, Chris. It's a pleasure. Yeah,
Steve, this is not our first chat. We've done a webinar, and we've done also some collaborative work together, and so it continues on. Steve is a great guy, a very kindred soul, and a very interesting outdoor guy who I keep telling teachers that outdoors is so crucial for our littles. And if they don't get out enough, it just has these negative effects on them. And some of the research, which is staggering to me, is that shows that kids today are spending less than 10 minutes a day on unstructured outdoor play. 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. It was nuts. So Steve, we're losing this childhood outdoor movement, connection, stewardship to nature. Like, it seems to be getting less and less as we get more and more into this technology world of ours, where screens seem to be the first world that kids are exposed to, and not the real outdoors where nature is. How did you, first of all, get involved in loving nature so much? Could you tell us a little bit about how you came to be director at the Coyote Programs, and maybe a little bit about how you, as a youngster, played outside?
Yeah, sure. I mean, wow. Yeah, short and sweet, I'd say. I think it was my parents when I was 16. They knew I had the love of the outdoors already, definitely some free time in little wild spaces in our neighborhoods. And then when I was a teen, they were like, "You're not spending another summer playing video games and street hockey. You're going on a canoe trip." And I was like, "No." But they forced me, and I got into it. And then I fell in love. So really, it was the immersion, I think, that really hooked me. And the feeling of just like the vitality, the health, the community spirit that develops from a canoe trip. The first one was 19 days. Yeah. And then eventually I worked for the company and just, went down this rabbit hole of survival skills, and then into nature connection, which kind of brings that really fun content to the contemporary world and makes it relevant and practical for education. So yeah, it kind of came from there. So shout out to my parents, in that teenage years when they still have time to force your kid to do something that's good for them,
They did just before
7, so
where you're like, I'm out of here. But kudos, word out to Steve's parents. And parents play this crucial role in this, right? Because most of the time their parents are the ones that start exposing their kids to the outdoors more than, educators or, anyone else. It's through parent influence, I'd say, a little bit.
Yeah, your household, it's like the role model. Yeah, totally. You're patterning yourself off your parents. Yep.
Yeah. So we've come a long way, right? From those canoe days to you directing this program. How did the Coyote program come to be? How did you breathe life into it, and it becomes a pretty powerful group and program that you offer to Quebec students?
Sure. I think after, really falling in love as a teen with the great outdoors and wanting to help protect wild spaces, I saw the disconnect from the urban city, the urban centers, where nature is this abstract thing that's super far away, and it's this nice idea, and it's this pretty picture kind of thing. And so I think it was definitely, very motivated by seeing, well, firstly, the benefits to the individual and their health and their well-being, their mental health, physical health. And then just knowing that if you don't have that kind of love for the land, you're not going to take care of it. And seeing the need in the cities where it's like, it's like nature disconnect, ground zero. So this is where this stuff is most needed. Yeah. And so Coyote Programs kind of emerged from that like desire to do good and that vision of like, hey, we need people who, even in cities, who nature is not this abstract thing, but it's this, you can still, we want people to feel that sense of kinship with the land, even in the city. Yeah.
Totally. I remember this quote, and it was, we can't expect kids to take care of our planet if they've never been attached to it, right? Like, we can't be like, oh, yeah, we screwed up as adults, but don't worry, the kids will take care of it. Well, in fact, no, they won't if they've never felt attached to it, right? And that whole stewardshipness comes into place where, I feel attached to the world around me, and nature is, that crux of a thing that I need to feel attached to if I'm going to help, solve some of these big problems that the planet is facing.
Yes. And then how do we cultivate that attachment? There's the puzzle. Yeah. When we have, what would you say, 10 minutes of unstructured time outdoors a day, or it's like dwindling down to that. It's like slim pickings, man. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys deal with that at the Coyote program? Like, how do you guys make sure that kids, well, I guess you can't make sure, but how do you hope that what you do attaches kids to nature more?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have like our in-house programs that we run on weekends. For the most part, we have homeschool programs that we do. And like, we're outside the whole day, like, sorry, that's like, we have 6 hours, we're outside, we're like in it. Pretty much any weather, and then our whole curriculum is designed to, optimize the learning opportunities from that immersion time. So it's not just like sports outside. It's not just like, it's not science. It's not super didactic all the time, but it's really dynamic and playful and exciting and engaging so that, we kind of like set the participants up to, really learn and feel connected and feel a part of the land. Yeah, that's really it. And then with schools, I mean, it's tricky. You have an hour sometimes. You have half an hour. Like how to make the most of this, in that context. And that's a whole other, set of tools and, so much depends on the actual program and the setup, but it can be done. It needs to be done, Yes.
It's urgent almost at this stage in life, right? Like, we've become so disconnected. And I mean, I was talking not too long ago with some preschool teachers saying how important the outside is for play for young kids. And, that play is their work, as a young child. If you're not playing, you're not really growing or developing who you are. And I see that it always seems to be attached to the outdoors, that if I can get them playing, it would be outside.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's this idea that we're designed for connection. We're hardwired for this. And you let kids outside. Yeah. So like your initial point there about the unstructured time, like what is the point of unstructured time? Okay. And I think about our programs and like, we have a lot of structure, like we have an agenda in what we do. Like we're setting kids up for camping trips. We're learning skills. We're cultivating ecological literacy. We're doing it. And we have, free time and that open space time and, kind of programmed in, but so what's the benefit to that? And there's this part of the model that we follow has this really like fun pedagogical kind of anthropological question that is about unstructured time. And it's looking at universal child passions. So kids around the world, what will they do if you just let them loose outside? And it's so fun to do this, to ask a group of teachers this question and to brainstorm, like, what's the list? And then that is our kind of like, that's our starting point. And it's like, how do we build off of that and follow those child passions? So it's like, it's a huge list, but it's like, jumping in puddles, throwing things, sneaking, building forts, tricking each other, playing games, playing make-believe, trying to catch things, catch a butterfly, catch a frog. The list goes on. And then it kind of illustrates how those things that we naturally do, the wild instinct in us, kind of set us up for these deep, rich encounters that draw out of us so many good qualities, right? So you need that time in a kid's, development. It's so precious. It's so like fundamental to our humanity, really.
Right, right. And probably something that is not all that easy to replicate in the four walls of a classroom either. Like, it really requires the child or the student to be actively outside amongst the trees and the dirt and the water and the
Yeah.
like it's something you can't teach a kid, right? Like, it's a
Yeah, totally, totally. There's like this idea, like we, you kind of like you set a kid up to have a handshake with the elements. It's like they have to go on that learning journey themselves. They have to encounter the bird song and the plants and it's so rich. It's so nourishing for the nervous system of the kid. It's so like sensorially complex, being outside and being in it. Yeah, but so important. Yeah.
that wonder, Steve, like, you get kids that come to you, I mean, from all over like different luggage, different emotional development stages. Like, what do you notice about what nature does to kids? Like, when they finally get that exposure and they're kind of have that a little bit of taste of freedom of the outdoors, what are your observations about how the kids adopt it, change? Like, are those observables that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much. I mean, where to begin? And then we see like the kids feeling more peaceful, more calm, more relaxed, like more engaged. They learn, about teamwork. They learn about themselves. There's the curiosity that's cultivated, the problem solving, the creativity, the connection to other people, the connection to themselves, knowing themselves. It's really profound.
It doesn't have to be complicated. Like,
Yeah.
what I'm hearing from you is that we have this expectation of, oh, we got to teach our youth and instill values and skill sets, and like, as opposed to put them in an environment where nature will just embrace them and will develop all those things naturally without it being this, curriculum or this structured, like, okay, I'm going to show you guys how to love nature. Like, it seems easy in the sense that if you put a child in the right environment, naturally things will start to change within that kid.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, however, the role of the teacher or the guide is definitely crucial in rolling with those natural passions and then, guiding it towards cultivating these qualities of responsibility and kindness and awareness, like, yeah, it's definitely like these little gentle nudges of like cultivating the conduct around these skills, which is really, really primordial, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, so it, like the teachers have to have, and the guides have to have that connection themselves. They have to have that adventuresome spirit to role model it, that curiosity in themselves. They have to have that, ability to learn with the students. Like, the book of nature is so vast. There's so much to know. You can't know everything, but can you explore with the kids, right? And be curious and ask questions and be flexible in your agenda, And a big thing too, I think, which is like super key, is games and playing. And, the image that comes to mind is like you get outside with a group of students for an hour and it reminds them of recess. You have to like run them. Like, if you're going to do like a little like didactic piece, even, or like a story and another game, like you need something that's going to like burn some calories, because we're like domestic dogs that are out, the doors open and the dog is sprinting for the next 15 minutes before they like slow down to a trot and then slow down a little bit more, So we have to work with that context too, which is super important if we want to reach the kids. Is like, we gotta, meet them where they're at, for sure.
Yeah, I've heard, like, if you take kids outside for like half hour to an hour and you bring them back inside, they're super focused, because they've kind of gotten the yayas out and they're ready to, they have more time to concentrate than if you hadn't done that. So, I mean,
And
the
that's like
benefits are huge, right?
Yeah. And like, I have my anecdotal evidence, and teachers who do this, I think it's really valuable if they can like track the behavior of the students before and after and compared to other weeks when they don't have the outdoor time, because it's super important. And those books, there's so much research that has been done. It's important to know we know this stuff, like Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. It's this collection of studies about what are the benefits. And then the Quebec version of that is Perdu sans la nature by François Cardinal, which just, it studies and it reinforces the points of like, we need to do this. This is so good for when, like we said, when they come back into class, they're going to get more out of it. They're going to be more engaged. They're going to be more focused. And, a lot of teachers are like, oh, okay, this is nice ideas going out. No. I don't have time for that. Like I got the pressure of my curriculum. I got this, no. And then what if it was the flip, like what if it was like, I can't afford not to do this, right? Because they're gonna like, it's gonna be like more efficient, if we weave this into our weekly schedule. Yeah.
I think too, teachers, once they finally do bust that door open, they realize almost right away, like within the first 10, 15 minutes of seeing their kids in a different environment and see them differently, right? I was reading some research as well where they're saying the tough kids in your classroom become different people when they're outside, when they have that opportunity to move and to be out and free almost from the clutches of the four walls.
Right. The tough kids you're talking about, like behavior kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And with COVID too, like, I mean, it's not that far away. Our kids kind of went through the ringer there, and we're seeing a lot of mental health issues and, screen time and technology and all that stuff that, there's a time and place for it, but nature will really help those anxieties and all of this luggage that kids seem to be carrying around with them with this anxiety and stress and really short attention spans. Again, opening those doors up can help alleviate some of that.
Yeah. One of the activities that we do in our programs is called a sit spot, where we sit in nature for silence and just pay attention and be present. And I love priming it with like, all right, everybody, we're going to practice one of the hardest survival skills out there, like making fire by rubbing sticks together, whatever, tracking animals through, any landscape. Okay, whatever, sitting and being present. And they're like, but it's like, oh my gosh, the rewards are huge. It's not always like picture perfect and everyone's going to have their own experience, but it's deeply nourishing. And it is like kind of the antithesis to what a lot of the kids are facing on a regular basis. The packed schedules, the screen time, the hyperstimulation, it's like,
yeah. And that's kind of a disconnection as well, just from life around you,
right.
We get consumed by these screens sometimes. And
yeah,
Steve, give me a little bit of an idea and the listeners, like, what is your program offer? Like, and like, what are the different tiers that you guys have in services that you provide to the community?
Nice. Yeah. Like curriculum wise, it's kind of broken into three categories, like wilderness skills, ecology, and leadership. And we can kind of do any kind of mixture of that. And if we're left to our own devices, we're going to do all of that at the same time, all those different bits. And it's going to be playful and it's going to be fun. It's going to be crafty. And we tend to implement like a lot of different teaching styles. And we have these routines that we do in our programs that are kind of like optimize connection and awareness and presence and community. Yeah. And so with schools, we do all sorts of different, kinds of formats. We definitely do like the classe nature kind of thing, like the one-off activity. Ideally, that leads towards a series of activities or some kind of ongoing relationship. So like a couple of activities with the same class where these routines of connection can really sink in and become normal and become like part of the student's regular, educational experience, as opposed to just the one-off, like flashy, inspirational thing. We want these habits of connection and awareness to really sink in. and in these skills to develop, and it definitely takes time. So we've done like the all day activity at the school or meeting the kids at a local park. We go to Angernia Park. We have a site on a farm in the West Island, visit our partners in Ganawage, and we can go to the schools. That's really fun when we can, go to the schoolyard and see what is the life around the school and, get inspiration and value what they have in proximity to them, after school programs, camping trips. Yeah. All sorts of things.
Anything to do with nature and kids, you dabble. You're in it. I love it. And yeah, because I find too, Steve, like oftentimes teachers just need that like little bit of coaching, like just walk with me for this first session or, and then I'll see how the kids are and I'll see how it's, I'll learn some stuff just through you coaching them or your other instructors. Is that something too that schools could reach out to you and say, hey, can you just come in? I want to look at our spot, what's our patch hold? Like, what do we got here?
Yeah.
Those are,
absolutely.
Do as well.
Yeah. We do teacher trainings. Yeah. Custom to kind of like what's, within the capacity of the teachers there. Yeah. And oftentimes like when we work with the teacher who has that extra spark of motivation and like curiosity, and it's just the best because the teacher like brings it home. They revisit the topics that we brought up, or they work with us to kind of like make sure that we connect to the curriculum points that they're working with. That's the best. The teachers aren't always available for like that level of conversation. They want more of something like inspirational and fun, and but we definitely enjoy that as well, where it's like, hey, we're talking about these curriculum pieces. Can you just like jazz it up and like add some dimension to it? And yeah, we love doing that.
Experiences or like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, this has been a great chat. I love what you do. I really encourage teachers to reach out to you and see what is available for their schools, their community. Because if we don't start reversing this trend of less than 10 minutes a day, we can't then expect them to find stewardship within nature if we don't expose them to it. So I think it's more crucial than ever. Just all these climate change stuff, and if that's not a focus, I don't know what is. What say you?
It's important. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a lot of empathy for teachers because it's a struggle. It's very hard to like bring this to your classroom and to your institution that has so much momentum behind it. I definitely get a lot of hope from teachers who have that spark and that inspiration, and who like hearing stories from them of them working together to troubleshoot things like, hey, like, how do we make this? They have that value, they have that drive, they want to make it happen, but there's like this host of things to work out. And when they collaborate together, I think I've just heard so many great stories of teachers working together, troubleshooting like the gear. How are we going to like time this properly, like get there and back in time? And I got these behavior issues to like, anticipate, and how are we going to work all this out? Yeah, but there's so much creativity. I see like a big momentum of teachers and schools and CPERs that are like valuing this and going for it and figuring it out. Like with that inspiration, there's creativity, and you're gonna make it work. And we're there to help. There's different, there's so many different resources out there to help this along. Yeah, and as you said, it's like, it's so beneficial to the kids, and in this world, it's like we have to be doing this. Like let's get used to this and like make it the best. Yeah,
it's a necessity for sure. It's a necessity. And Steve, I love your passion and your stewardship also in this. You've made me a heck of a lot smarter just through our connections and our conversations. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you sharing your expertise with us today.
Thanks.
It's been a great chat. Take care of yourself. Enjoy nature.
Likewise. Yeah. Let's get out there. The snow's falling. We got to get into the snow. Let's go.
Thanks, brother.